Well, how is everyone today? We have in our possession, actually I don't have it anymore, but I got to see a bike that I have been wanting to see in person ever since I saw the first iterations of it on the internet. Today, we are going to be taking a look at none other than the brand new Bianchi Arcadex. I like saying Arcadex better, but they said it's based off of Arcadia, so I think it's Arcadex. Either way, however you pronounce it, Arcadex. When I first saw this thing on the internet, I thought it was hideous. I thought Bianchi was a little confused on what they were making. To get the formalities out of the way, if you do enjoy this content, please make sure that you hit subscribe down at the bottom. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to ask them in the comment section. Anyway, let's jump to it. Let's get to the shop. Let's unbox this thing, and we'll give my first impressions on it. Let's go. So again, you have to remember that this is a first impression style video. This is the first time I'm ever looking at this. I tried to refrain from really digging in on the internet and getting other people's feel of this bike. Wanted to give you my honest opinion about it, pulling it out of the box. Let's jump into it. Let me go over the specs with you really quickly, and then I will get into what I think about this, this beast, the Bianchi Arcadex, or Arcadex, or however you want to pronounce this thing. It is actually coming equipped with Shimano GRX, full GRX. You guys know I'm a sucker when they do full GRX, or full group, I guess I should say. So you do have the shifters, the derailleur, you know, the chain, the cassette, the brakes. Everything on this is Shimano, even down to the hubs, they are Shimano as well. That's a thumbs up in my opinion. So the group on it is GRX 11 speed. It is a one bike. It is a full carbon fiber frame. The rest of it, like the handlebars, the seat posts, they're kind of generic. They're the Reparto Corsa. So that's Bianchi's like house brand of componentry. The wheels are Alex rims, laced up to Shimano hubs. That's fine, I guess, but it's a slight disappointment in my opinion at this price point. They're not bad rims, but when I'm pulling this bike out of the box and it's like, what, 4,200 bucks or something like that. When you compare this sucker to the Revolt that's at the same price point, you get carbon wheels with the Revolt, man. That's a letdown. The wheels are 100% a letdown pulling this out of the box. And so the stem on this thing though, the stem is very interesting. I like that Bianchi's trying to do a little bit of aesthetically pleasing front ends. So this is very reminiscent of like the Specialissimo. They're trying to make the front end of these bikes a little bit sleeker. How do they do that? So they're trying to hide the cables. You have these, it's basically a covering that goes up underneath it. So my first impressions of this bike, I think the best way to describe this thing is an ugly duckling. I did not want to comment on this bike until I saw it in person, because many a times I will see a bike on the interwebs and go, that looks hideous. And then you see it in person and it's like, it kind of grows on you. I kind of like it. This bike on the other hand, I don't see it, man. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look like a Bianchi. I think Bianchi is a little bit confused with their design. The easiest way I can describe this bike, and how I've been describing it, is how I would decorate my house. It's like if you just zoom in on parts of the bike, it looks cool. Like the seat tube area looks pretty cool. Your head tube looks pretty cool. The fork's got some cool looking stuff on it. But then when you take a step back, you're like, oh God, oh no. That's what I feel about this bike. I'm not gonna get to ride it. I'm gonna get to pedal it around, which I won't do a full review on something that I just get to pedal around. So this thing could ride amazing, but when I look at the geometry, when I look at the tube shapes, and when I look at some of the way Bianchi describes this bike, to me, it's almost a little bit of a disappointment for the price. So Bianchi claims that this bike is a full-on, it is a race heritage, which it does have because it's Bianchi, but they take that race heritage and they make a race gravel bike. And then the next line, they say that it's also a very fast bike packing touring bike. I'm like, is this a touring bike or is it a race bike? It does have fender mounts for mud guards on this thing, which is cool, but then there's no threads in them, so you have to put a nut on the back of this cool little fender mount that they integrate into the fork. You have to put a nut on it, which looks terrible in my opinion. It's little things like that, Bianchi. I love Bianchi. I am a Bianchi fanboy through and through because I think they have some of the most pretty, beautiful pieces of art that is a bicycle that you can race. I would love to have the Zolder over this. That's their cross bike. I would take the Zolder any day over this. Now, if I get on this and go, holy crap, it's the best racing gravel bike I've ever been on, okay, I can get the ugliness. I can take that and, and put it at the back of my brain if it performs very well. But when you look at the geometry, when you look at the tube shapes, there's nothing like radically different than any other bike. I don't think that would be the case, but that's just me. One thing that I think is very, very odd, and I don't care for this, is this little thing right here, this port. Yeah, so I had to do some digging because I had a customer come in and he was oogling over this bike, right? And he goes, what is this port for? And I go, dude, I don't know. I pop it out, I'm like, is this storage? It's kind of small for storage, but whatever, company's doing weird things. I mean, you can see the bottom bracket shell down in there, so it's not storage. So I go on to Bianchi's website, I try to find out what this little thing is. Bianchi doesn't have it anywhere on there. They don't tell you what you can do with this. The owner's manuals that all companies give you now are a joke, so don't take that out on Bianchi, but all of them are a joke. So I did some digging on it. I'm going to email Bianchi and confirm this. What I could dig around and find is they are going to do an electric version of this bike, and that has something to do with that, which is fine, but I think it's weird to not at least put that out there, because now there's customers asking, what is this compartment for? And I can't honestly tell them because I don't know, which is kind of strange to me, but I want to know. I really do. That's why I'm gonna talk to someone at Bianchi, but I find that part of this bike very odd. So this is why I also think Bianchi's a little bit confused. So I was trying to figure out, like nail down exactly what Bianchi was going for with this bike. And I am in love with companies that are just super honest, right? They don't try to like fluff it up. I'm just all about being transparent, being honest. So like the whole little bottom bracket port thing, I'm like, what's the deal with that? Why wouldn't you just put that out what it is? Some of this is just like over the top. Hold on, I gotta read some of this to you. The Arcadex Gravel bike perfectly combines an emotional communion with nature. This is where it gets good. The Arcadex serves as the connection between the human spirit and the natural world beyond, enhancing every sense from the crispness of colors to the feeling of friendship among companions. What? So if I buy this bike, I get friends, I'm sold. I take everything back I said about it. Everything is intensified and nature is amplified. That's way too intense for me. I just want a bicycle. So if I was doing a 1 to 5 rating, which is what I would prefer to do with some of these bikes, in the scheme of things, I would have to give this bike a 2. Oh my God, that hurts me to say it because I love Bianchi so much. The reasons I would have to give this a lower rating than I would traditionally want to on any Bianchi is because if I take a step back and I'm comparing it to the other options in the gravel race world, this one leaves a lot to be desired. If you completely take away the frame, like to me, if they just took the Zolder, changed a little bit of the geometry and put bigger tire clearance on it, and that's all they did, then if you just go based off of specs, it leaves a lot to be desired, because you can get a lot more bang for your buck with some other companies. And I know Bianchi's a little bit more expensive because it's a Bianchi, and that's fine. But when you take that and you add on the quirkiness of this frame, which some people may love it, that's fine too. It was a disappointment for me. I am so terrible. This is going to be one of my first really negative reviews of a bike, and I know you guys know that I pride myself on honesty, but honestly, I know that people took their time and they designed this and they want it to be successful. And to me, I hate hurting people's feelings so much so that I hate to give negative reviews. But man, this one's definitely low on the list, because to me, sometimes, I don't know, if this bike was like $2,000 cheaper, I would think different. I would give it a better review, but man, for the money, it's not for me at least. There you have it. I was extremely excited to at least put my hands on this bike because I wanted to like it so bad. I love the Zolder. One day I hope to put my hands on one of those from Bianchi, but you know, you guys all know I'm a Bianchi fanboy. I'm just not a fan of the Arcadex. So if you have any questions on it, feel free to ask in the comments section. I will leave you all to it. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.